Well, good morning and welcome to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Acom. We are broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. I'm so glad that you've joined us this morning because we have a lot to cover. And we're going to be talking with our good friend Griffin Bates, the Steuben County historian, about their big celebration that is coming up. And that is Steuben 250. Look how cool their poster is. It's a big celebration coming up on September 5th. We're going to learn all about it. And with so many events going on, you're going to hear from a lot of people, a lot of organizations throwing events. We want to get that in the calendar. Because as you know, the show's all about community. And so we're excited. Soon we'll be talking with Corning Rotary about their upcoming summer feast. We'll be talking about India Day, which is coming up very shortly, very soon. So yes, about community. So if you are a part of an organization that's fundraising, make sure you contact us, even if it's not an interview. We'd love to promote your event. We've got a couple promotions coming up a little bit later on. All right, let's go to viewer comments. This came in right at the end of yesterday's broadcast. Joe and Frank, thank you for an awesome show. God bless you both. Well, thank you, and God bless you. That's so nice of you to say. That was Joe Sempolinski. If you missed it yesterday, it's always fun with Joe. Former congressman, current assemblyman, current chair of the Steuben County GOP. If you did miss it, it is on our YouTube page as well as WYDCTV.com. Really enjoyed talking with Joe Sempolinski yesterday. Comment from Mark, who says, good morning. Good morning, Mark. President Trump said that this deal better work because it's their last chance. If not, he will decapitate Iran. We're going to talk about Iran a little bit later on. Another issue with the Strait of Hormuz, so we'll talk about that. We're also going to bring to you, I don't want to spend too much time on it. It'll probably come up a little bit later on in the program, but the results from Michigan, because it was much closer than expected. They thought the far left Democrat Socialists of America was going to run away with it, according to poll numbers. That's why we always say, take the poll numbers with a very big grain of salt. He was in double-digit leads. That's not the case. Last I saw, he's right around 2-point lead with, I think, 80% counted. So it's still too close to call, Al-Said. So we'll talk about that a little bit later on. Jack writes in, good morning, Frank. Well, good morning, Jack. I like listening to the Bible while I fall asleep. I discovered Jude. Think about which political party the following reminds us of while you're reading this. Jude 1:12. These people are blemishes at your love feasts, eating with you without the slightest qualm. Shepherds who feed only themselves. They are clouds without rain, blown along by the wind, autumn trees without fruit, and uprooted, twice dead. And verse 16, or Jude 1, verse 16. These people are grumblers and fault finders. They follow their own evil desires. They boast about themselves and flatter others for their own advantage. And finally, Jude 1, 18 through 19. They said to you, in the last times there will be scoffers who will follow their own ungodly desires. These are the people who divide you, who will follow mere natural instincts and do not have the Spirit. Jack believes that reminds him, and he asks you who it reminds us of, but it reminds him of the Democrats. Thank you, Jack. We appreciate that. All right, yesterday, another scary scenario. An armed man allegedly scouted President Trump's California golf club. Now, the president was going to be visiting that golf club. And I believe there's going to be a fundraiser or some type of a gathering. And investigators say that the person they arrested had an illegal rifle, body armor, and a weapons stash. Janine John Talley, 38 years old of Downey, was charged in a federal criminal complaint with possessing an unregistered short-barreled rifle after his arrest Saturday at Trump International Golf Club in Los Angeles. The felony alone carries a mandatory minimum sentence of 10 years in federal prison. Federal agents were conducting security sweeps ahead of Trump's August 4th visit when they spotted Talley, T-A-E-L-E, on July 31st walking around the course wearing an earpiece while taking photos and videos of security planning activities. Talley returned to the club Saturday, prompting staff to alert authorities. He allegedly approached federal agents and falsely claimed he worked for the State Department and was assigned to a security detail. Talley also admitted he had a loaded firearm inside his pickup truck parked at the club. Los Angeles County Sheriff's deputies responded and discovered Talley had an outstanding warrant tied to a robbery case. Deputies found a 16-round magazine loaded with hollow point ammunition in his pocket. A search of his pickup truck turned up a loaded 9mm pistol with a round chambered. Another loaded magazine filled with hollow point ammunition, binoculars, and a badge labeled Security Protection Agent. Investigators then searched his home Sunday, where they seized an illegally modified AR platform rifle that had never been registered in the National Firearms Registration and Transfer Records, along with additional firearms, ammunition, high-capacity magazines, body armor, an earpiece, 2 radio signal devices, and notebooks containing concerning statements. You've got to think that if he had the earpieces, is there someone else involved in this, or is this a scenario where he could somehow get communications from Secret Service? First Assistant U.S. Attorney Bill Esley says, while we are still investigating the motives of this individual, we are thankful he was apprehended before the president's visit. Federal and local law enforcement stepped in early and prevented what could have been a dangerous situation from occurring. Now, even more chilling details have emerged, according to the New York Post. As I mentioned, what they found on him. Concerning enough, and sadly, this has become commonplace, whether it's the White House Correspondents' Dinner, of course, Butler, Pennsylvania. He was charged with manufacturing, importing, keeping for sale, giving or receiving a large capacity magazine, carrying a concealed firearm in a vehicle, possessing of a short-barreled rifle or shotgun, second-degree robbery in connection to the 2025 robbery. He has pleaded not guilty, and bail was set at $250,000. Talley, who describes himself as a United States Marine Corps veteran, had been spotted, as I mentioned, at that golf course. It'll be interesting to learn the motives if we ever do. Now, the president was scheduled to attend a Republican National Committee fundraiser dinner held there. And that's what you would believe it is in reference to. White House spokesperson Olivia Wales said President Trump will visit California on Tuesday, so yesterday, right? Yeah, to tout his wins for the people of the Golden State despite failed Democrat leadership, the largest middle-class tax cut ever, the most secure border in American history, and a plummeting crime rate. The spokesperson specifically called out Newsom, Gavin Newsom by name, accusing him of raising taxes, inviting rampant fraud in taxpayer-funded programs, and protecting illegal immigrant drug dealers, rapists, and murderers. Because that's where he was visiting for a political fundraiser. Now, Trump reacted to the heavily armed suspect at his golf course, telling Fox News, the only thing I get a little solace from is they say only consequential presidents, and I am definitely consequential. Instead of focusing on the arrest of 38-year-old Janine John Talley, Trump pivoted to Iran, the economy, and what he called the growing threat of socialism. I have no choice when referring to Iran. They can't have a nuclear weapon. The president also took aim at the rise of socialist candidates, arguing they want to ruin the country. So it kind of went on to different areas. So there is an update. But we talk about this hatred for Trump, and you see it in the media. You see it with the Democrat Socialists of America. And I've had numerous conversations with people off the air where it almost seems like the party platform for the establishment of the Democrat Party is just the hatred of Trump, where the Democrat Socialists of America have that part, but and maybe that's the rise of the Democrat Socialists of America, where that anger came from. But they also, with their infighting, they have their other major issues, anti-Semitism and the like. Well, just to give you an example of this hatred, listen to this. This is so sad. A foul-mouthed, crazed, anti-Trump protester who was outside of Trump National Golf Course in Los Angeles urged her young son to give President Donald Trump's supporters the middle finger after unleashing a barrage of graphic accusations in front of children outside this event. The ugly confrontation erupted as supporters were decked out in MAGA gear, gathered peacefully ahead of Trump's arrival for that same event where that armed man was found outside at the RNC. Across the street, anti-Trump demonstrators, including several children, wearing white hats emblazoned with the words, "Deport Melania." So there's even a hatred now for Melania. "Deport Melania." They shouted profanities and obscene insults at the crowd. again, with their children in tow. One young protester repeatedly screamed accusations that Trump is a sexual assailant as supporters waited outside the golf club. Then a woman wearing a matching to Port Melania cap crossed the street holding her young son's hand. She made sure everyone, including the children around her, heard what she had to say. And I'm not going to repeat her statements. It gets graphic. As you can imagine, tensions quickly boiled over. The aggressive shouting escalated into physical pushing and shoving between the opposing groups. During the scuffle, a phone was knocked out of a Trump supporter's hand, and their political sign was snagged and ripped apart. Law enforcement quickly intervened to separate the crowds, handcuffing and detaining at least one person involved in the chaos. Imagine that, your young child. Teaching them, I guess that's what political discourse is. That's what having the conversation is. Remember, these are the same people that put on the mantle of tolerance and diversity. It's not tolerance of opinion, a different opinion. It's not tolerance of a different, or it's not the diversity of different political thoughts. And here's another example. I don't even like to bring this person up, but it is kind of a way to lead into some updates. We talked last week, or maybe 2 weeks ago, about the Wisconsin brewery, who promised that when Trump passes away, that it would be free beer all day. Remember that? And then the owner had made, and I'm paraphrasing, but had made a comment after one of these assassination attempts on the president that we almost had free beer today. And then something like my brothers and sisters practice better marksmanship. I mean, just very sick stuff. Well, just to add on to it, I know he's doing this for free publicity, and that's why I hesitate to bring it up. But Wisconsin, I don't imagine too many people watching this program are going to travel to Wisconsin to go to a brewery with this kind of hatred. But after sparking outrage with free beer on the day President Donald Trump dies, they're once again drawing criticism after announcing plans for half-price beer day when Senator Mitch McConnell dies. They announced it on their Instagram post, saying that the Kentucky Republican, Mitch McConnell, was responsible for, quote, about half of all America's current problems. So that's hence the half price. Well, folks, in our logic, if our logic is right, we're supposed to get the news today that, and they call him Rigor Tortoise, because remember, Mitch McConnell was sometimes hatefully, but sometimes playfully described as a turtle. And this, a pun on rigor mortis. Rigor Tortoise kicked the bucket about 2 months ago, the brewery said. Why today? Because so-called establishment Democratic hero and modern-day gutless members of the do-nothing opposition party, Governor Andy Beshear, failed to call a special election to replace the ghost from Kentucky before August 3rd, which means by Kentucky law, the seat will go unfilled until January. When they announced that McConnell's life had ended, finally ended, great, we're going to start serving our beer at half price because we promised half price beer day on the day they unplugged the ventilator. I mean, this is a level of hatred that is so unhealthy. My goodness. But this is the hatred that we're seeing even in the campaigns. They're not shying away from this division. They're not shying away from whether it's that young child, whether it's this anger. It's just not healthy. Take a step back from politics, I would say, at this point. Wow. Okay, when we come back, we are going to, I don't know why I kicked off the program with that, but we're going to give you some updates, and we'll talk about Michigan. Interesting that it was a heated contest, but it still looked like the Democratic Socialists of America was going to win, al-Assad, but now it is down to the wire. Down to the bitter finish, al-Assad versus Stevens in that Senate battle. We'll talk about that a little bit later on. I have a couple of, I don't even know if I could call them updates, but a couple stories I just think you're going to find interesting, and I would love to get your opinion on. As I said, we have quite a few announcements about upcoming events in our community. You want to stay tuned for that as well. So stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking after this.
Hi, this is Tom Witzel, owner of Hesselson's in Amara Heights. At Hesselson's, we care about your well-being and overall health, whether it's relieving stress, muscle recovery, increasing circulation, or just revitalizing the body. Hesselson's now has 2 complete line of infrared and traditional rock saunas in our new and expanded showroom. Come in today and see why owning a sauna is a start of your new healthy lifestyle. Hesselson's is still locally and family-owned and operated in Amara Heights. After 70 years, it's still fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
Making arrangements is one of the best gifts that you can give to your family. When you prearrange your funeral, you have taken away all questions and all doubts what your final wishes are. In a cost-free, no-obligation appointment, we can sit down with you and answer any questions that you have. And we will meet you at your home or at the funeral home. Your family doesn't have to tell your story. You can tell your story for yourself.
Visit carpentersphillipsflint.com.
Give kids time. Just 5 minutes a day. Ask them how they're feeling. And listen.
The health class film guy isn't the best person to talk to your kid about vaping.
Got a few minutes?
You are. Talk to your child about vaping today.
Hi there, I'm meteorologist Brandon Weathers. Seasonable sunshine today, a high of 86, but we'll start to transition to some more active conditions. From the west later today, it's in the overnight hours that many of us see some shower and thunderstorm potential. 67 for a low, then 87 Thursday with scattered storms, some of which may involve some heavy downpours. Once rain chances return, we have at least a slight chance each day through the start of
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson's studio. So depending on where you go, CNN has not confirmed the win. NBC News is saying that Abdul Al-Saad won the Michigan Democratic Senate primary. He is the Democrat Socialist of America, where his opponent, Representative Hallie Stevens, was, I guess, more of an establishment Democrat. Now, if you look at the numbers with 90, where is it? According to CNN, with 95% reported of the votes counted, estimated, 95%, Abdul Al-Saad had a 48.6% lead over Hallie Stevens with 47.3. So 48.6 to 47.3. And remember, people say that their vote doesn't matter. That's remarkable. So we're not going to call it. Some have not. But I know Al-Saad is taking his victory lap. We may talk about that a little bit later on. Kind of breaking news, but in against Michigan, so I don't want to spend too much time on it. But it'll lead into discussions about where the Democrat Party is headed, whether it is going to be, because I know the far left is turning on the James Carvilles of the world. I only mention him because he recently said the party's so wild that he's thinking about leaving it. And you have people like Al-Assad, you have people like Bernie Sanders saying leave. So we'll talk a little bit about the Democrat Party. First, to Mark's point earlier on, fresh attacks on commercial shipping and Iranian demands to charge fees in the Strait of Hormuz are threatening the progress of a potential breakthrough deal with Iran. And we've said in the past, one of the problems here is you could be dealing with somebody in Iran that believes that they will open the strait and believe there's a deal going, but then you have all these other factions that don't want that to happen, and they'll start firing on ships. The flare-up came as Houthi rebels were blamed for sinking an Indian commercial vessel in the Red Sea on Tuesday, underscoring that key global shipping lanes remain under threat even as diplomats race to secure a wider agreement with Tehran. India's Ministry of External Affairs said in a statement, the continued incidents of attacks on commercial shipping in the region are deeply worrisome. Despite the renewed violence, Secretary of State Marco Rubio insisted yesterday that negotiations are moving in the right direction, saying, quote, there is oil moving right now through the strait. You know, there are ships moving through the straits. There's oil moving right now through the straits, so the straits are open nonetheless. I know that there's a conversation and negotiation that we are involved in between Oman and Iran and how more ships can be able to go through there safely in the short term as we move towards these longer-term talks about denuclearization. And suffice it to say, there's been progress made in those talks, but not finality yet. Now, you probably have heard the mainstream media and others report on this idea that we're drawn down on missiles. Well, the Trump administration is rejecting those concerns that the war with Iran has left the U.S. low on some of its most advanced long-range missiles. After a report found the Army burned through, quote, virtually all of its stockpile of two of its primary long-range precision weapons. The Army has used, quote, virtually all of its inventories of Army tactical missile systems and precision strike missiles during the 5-month conflict with Iran. That was being reported by Reuters. But Reuters was citing people familiar with internal U.S. military data, another problem with those leaks. Officials fear the drawdown could complicate the military's ability to respond to future crises involving adversaries such as China and Russia. The White House disputed this claim. President Trump said in a statement, "We have far more munitions than anyone in the world, and far more than we need, despite the fact that an unprecedented amount was given away by crooked Joe Biden and the Biden administration to Ukraine and Europe at no cost, in one of the many of their extremely dumb moves. Our defense companies are, at this moment, making more munitions than they have ever made before, in addition to expanding their plants and equipments at record levels. And as we build up, we will start issuing more to our allies in Europe and elsewhere." Now, according to experts at Fox News, that Iran is ramping up political pressure on the U.S. This is a way for them to gain leverage. This is a regime that knows it cannot win an outright battle of conventional capability. Foundation for Defense of Democracy's Iran Program Senior Director, Behnam Ben Talib, said, "They're even fighting a battle of wills right now against the Trump administration, both on the battlefield and diplomatically. Clearly, they have some steel, but this is a regime that has shown us in word and deed over the past 47 years that it will play to the edge and that it will gamble. Unfortunately, we're in a very tough situation right now." He also said no U.S. president has inflicted more damage on the Iranian regime than President Trump, but argued that the administration has recently pulled back from several earlier threats, I think 8 or 9, and even a newspaper run by Tehran's municipality basically said all of the Trump threats are watered down and that the U.S. is a paper tiger. So this is a tough position for U.S. deterrence to be in right now, despite the good track record that the president has had. Now, Efren Fard, who we have quoted in the past, says that Iran's regime won't negotiate in good faith. And I think we've all learned that at this point. Trump must break its grip. And we're not going to go into the specific details. But he said limited U.S. support could help spark a new popular uprising, accelerating the regime's collapse. As Iran's leaders remain hidden in tunnels and the regime's security apparatus grows increasingly fragmented, Washington should prioritize coordinated covert clandestine operations, stronger protection for opposition figures, and a long-term transition strategy over election-driven diplomacy. Closer strategic coordination between the CIA and Mossad may also be essential to better understand and confront the ideological and operational roots of the radical Islamist threat that has been spread since 1979, a challenge successive U.S. administrations have too often underestimated. The people of Iran and Israel are already paying the price for a prolonged war of attrition. Unless Washington recognizes that the regime's ideology leaves little room for compromise, the consequences will extend far beyond Iran. The next phase of this conflict will determine not only the future of Iran, but the future balance of power across the Middle East. Okay, there you go. There's our Iran update. Again, it is being declared by some outlets, others not, that Abdul al-Sahad won that Michigan Senate primary. Again, this is a primary, so you had two Democrats going against each other, but he was the Democrat Socialist of America candidate, and that means, and there's a lot of money dumped in this race, that means he would defeat what you would call maybe more the establishment. But again, as we talked about with Joe Semplinsky yesterday, the term establishment, we're still talking far left individuals here. So we'll talk about that a little bit later on. Because of the breaking news aspect to it, we have... it's still a little up in the air, but some of the other races are settled. We'll talk about that, and that will lead into not just the Democrat Party and their infighting, their civil war going on right now, but also what the Republicans are saying and doing ahead of the midterms. We also, hopefully, have some time for New York State updates. I missed a few with Joe yesterday that I want to kind of rehash in case you missed it. And as I said, I just have some stories there's no way to really segue to, but I want to pass along to you and get your opinion on. So stay with us. I feel like we're just getting warmed up, but it's going quick, so stay with us.
When you're online, don't forget to visit our Facebook page at Big Fox News. Catch up on news from the Twin Tiers and hear about local events. All on Facebook.com/Big Fox News.
This year, WYDC is bringing you 25 New York Mets games free over the air this spring and summer. No fees and no subscription services. Tune into WJKP 48.2 to watch the New York Mets this MLB season. Let's go Mets!
One big day of smooth jazz awaits you at the Ferrario Elmira Jazz Festival. Join us at Thorne Street Park Saturday, August 15th for chart-topping jazz keyboardist Brian Simpson and soprano saxophonist Marion Meadows with local favorite Top Shelf. Celebrate with us. Tickets only $42. It's one big day. Buy tickets at ElmiraJazzFestival.com. Brian, Marion, and Top Shelf. One big day.
It's more than music.
And that anything.
Oh man, where is he?
Our client deserves big money. Oh, you can try to downplay it or shift the blame, but to not offer top dollar is just nuts. Pardon the pun.
Looks like another working vacation.
Oh, good morning, Peter.
Hey.
Hurt in a car? Only call William Matar, 444-4444.
Come celebrate the 207th Steuben County Fair from Monday, August 17th through Sunday, August 23rd. Wednesday, August 19th is Broken Bee Rodeo starting at 7 p.m. And there's more. Demolition derbies, monster truck show, games, rides, fun for the whole family. For tickets and information, visit SteubenCountyFair.org. Experience the Steuben County Fair from August 17th through the 23rd.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning. Comment from a viewer. The commie in a speech I saw spouted free healthcare for all, among other propaganda-laced lies. Was that Abdul al-Sahad? Or, because I know he gave a victory speech. It wasn't a victory speech quite yet. But it was now, again, NBC's declaring it, but the others have not. We're going to go through a couple things before we get to that, if you don't mind. Todd Blanche, Attorney General nomination, clears the Senate Judiciary Committee yesterday. The Senate Judiciary Committee voted 12-10 along party lines to send Blanche's confirmation to a full chamber vote. GOP Majority Leader John Thune, could schedule it as soon as this week, before the chamber recesses on September 14th. I would hope he would. Chuck Grassley, the chairman of the committee, said before the vote that concerns from Senator Cornyn and Tillis about the anti-weaponization fund were shared by many, including this senator. Okay. But remember when we heard so much about Graham Plattner, and now was it Troy Jackson that took his place? Graham Plattner was the alleged rapist, I should say, that had to drop out in Maine. Well, you would see some of the rhetoric early on before some of he had the Nazi tattoo, he had a really questionable background, we know that, but you had people on The View and elsewhere saying, you know what, still better than Susan Collins. Susan Collins is the worst. She's just a Trump rubber stamp. And as someone that follows this, that's very frustrating because you know that Susan Collins is not a rubber stamp candidate. As a matter of fact, she's arguably the most moderate Republican, and some would argue she's more of a Democrat. Well, just to prove my point that it's ridiculous to call her a rubber stamper, Susan Collins is opposing Todd Blanche for Attorney General. She will not vote for Todd Blanche. Collins won't sink Blanche's nomination on its own, but it makes every remaining undecided Republican that much more important. Mitch McConnell is still absent from the Senate. Blanche, who is serving in an acting capacity, can afford to lose only 2 GOP votes, assuming all Democrats oppose him, in which he probably will. Yeah, maybe Fetterman. I don't know. While I believe Mr. Blanche is a capable lawyer, the Department of Justice has become increasingly political, Collins said. Mr. Blanche has taken several actions that have further eroded the department's independence, and that is the basis for my vote to oppose his confirmation. So remember, that is the rubber stamper for Trump. That is that hardcore Republican MAGA candidate, Susan Collins, who votes against Trump on every major vote. And yet that goes to show you, again, this anger towards Trump and MAGA, or Republicans in general, that they were willing to put out Graham Plattner, a radical with a horrible background, just because they thought he could beat Susan Collins. Susan Collins, of all people. So that leaves 2 unknowns among Republicans, Senator Bill Cassidy and Lisa Murkowski. Neither has said who they'll vote for. Senator John Fetterman, who sometimes supports Trump's nominee, said in early June, I don't believe that's someone that I could support. So maybe Fetterman's not going to go that way. All right. Collins is the only Republican senator seeking re-election in a state that President Trump lost. We don't have to go through her whole story, but I guess the one issue that they had, well, listen, they're not even being factual with this on Axios. I shouldn't say not factual. They're not being fully factual. During Trump's second term, Collins has broke with the president on several high-profile occasions. She was one of 3 Republicans to vote against the One Big Beautiful bill. She also opposed a spending rescission package and Pete Hegseth's nomination as Secretary of Defense, but she supported RFK Jr.'s nomination to lead the Department of Health and Human Services. So their anger, she didn't even vote for the big, beautiful bill, and yet they have this anger for her. But again, that boils down to having the R next to her name. I just had to pass that along. All right, let's go through some. Well, we mentioned Melania earlier with that protester saying deport Melania. Amazon is doubling down on Melania Trump. They're going to come out with a new docu-series on the First Lady. She'll be the subject of a new Amazon Prime docu-series, senior advisor Mark Beckman announced yesterday, following Amazon MGM Studios documentary film, Melania, which was released earlier this year. Wow, that's exciting. First Lady Melania will be the subject of that docu-series. Speaking on air with Real America Voice host Eric Bolling about the project, Beckman said, this fall we are following the film with a docuseries surrounding the First Lady, surrounding Melania Trump. It's a completely different look at her world than Melania. Well, that's exciting. All right. I know we have some horse racing fans out there. So I just want to pass this along and get your opinion, and we're going to move on. But this is relatively breaking news, and I'm sure you've heard if you have been following at all, and then we'll get to some other updates. But I just wanted to mention this. So Teresa Gennaro writes about the New York Racing Association and Churchill Downs. They announced their bombshell vision of a brand new day in the sport of thoroughbred racing. Advertised as a move that benefits the future of thoroughbred racing, the Thoroughbred Championship Series will comprise 6 races between May and September, 3 at Churchill Downs, 2 at Saratoga, and 1 at Belmont. The races in the series are the Kentucky Derby, the Belmont Stakes, the Matt Winn, the Jim Dandy, the Travers, and a new championship race to be held at Churchill in September. There'll be an approximately 4-week gap between each race, and the horse that earns the most points at the end of the series will be declared a champion. A $5 million prize pool will be distributed based on the final standings. Details have not yet been realized about the point system or how the money will be allocated. The headline on the New York Racing Association news release read, Horse Racing's biggest event, unite in landmark new Thoroughbred Championship Series. So, is the Preakness Stakes no longer one of the sport's biggest events? Can you say that there's unity when the second leg of the Triple Crown crowd has been overlooked and perhaps rendered thoroughly irrelevant? That's unity? So what they're saying is this could actually be the end of the Triple Crown. That the Preakness, no longer one of the sport's biggest events, as it is said that 3 races at Churchill Downs, 2 at Saratoga, and 1 at Belmont Park. No mention whatsoever of the Preakness. Earlier this year, Churchill Downs offered $85 million to purchase the Preakness and all the intellectual property associated with it. Just last week, the state of Maryland matched that, ensuring that the right to the Preakness will stay in Maryland for the foreseeable future. It's hard to not see this move by Churchill as a spiteful, vengeful act, as retaliation against Maryland for daring to oppose its bid to gain even more power and influence in the racing industry, and for daring to keep the state's signature event at home. And what does the NYRA gain from this? That's unclear at this point, other than New York racing not ending up like Maryland, cast aside by the Churchill behemoth. Also cast aside, though less overtly, are the Haskell at Monmouth Park and the Pennsylvania Derby at Parks, both races that attract the sport's top 3-year-olds. This opinion piece says I'm a bit ambivalent about the need to change the Triple Crown. Historically, it's not been a static series, and there are reasonable arguments to be made for both keeping the Triple Crown as it is or for adapting it in light of significant changes within thoroughbred racing and breeding practices. Okay, whatever you think about this, and the only reason I mention it, and I don't want to go through any more of this because it gets a little wonky, and if you're not a horse racing fan, it probably doesn't speak very much to you, doesn't really get your attention. But the Preakness is integral to racing's history, present and future. It is, what this is saying is the Triple Crown as we know it. Conversations about Secretariat, those type of, that will be a thing of the past. If this stands, it sounds as if there will not be the Triple Crown as we know it. And your thoughts on that? Because the only reason I bring it up is I know we have a lot of horse racing fans. I'm still doing some more research into it, like I'm sure you are. I had some people send that to me yesterday. It seems shocking, but I think it hurts the sport. I think the casual horse racing fan isn't going to tune into the championship, but everybody tunes in, but a lot of people tune in to the Triple Crown, even if they're not betting, even if they're not necessarily horse racing fans, because they have that connection to it, because remembering when they saw Secretariat win, or remember when American Pharaoh won. I think it does more damage to the sport personally than it does grow it. But I had to pass that to you because I just know we have horse racing fans, and I try to reach to every crowd here. All right, we have a lot more to cover, and I'm running late. Keep those waves, keep those comments coming in. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
Don't forget to visit our Facebook page at Big Fox News. Watch news from the Twin Tiers and catch local events on Facebook.com/Big Fox News.
I had to pack up all my things. I had to leave my home. And I never knew where I was going next. It felt like I never even had a say. But then you came along.
Change a child's story. There's a child in foster care waiting for a volunteer like you. Learn how you can help at nationalcasagal.org.
Always drive at a responsible speed for your surroundings. Know the boating regulatory zones, including no wake zones, which are marked by white and orange buoys. That means keep it under 5 miles per hour. As a captain, you need to ensure that you're respecting other boaters. Always follow the navigation rules, such as red right return, be courteous with your wake, and never anchor in the channel.
The free They Hear You mobile app and Screen for Success tool can help you turn everyday situations into opportunities to talk with your kids about alcohol and other drugs and identify if they need more support. Download the app today and keep your kids safe and healthy.
Hi there, I'm meteorologist Brandon Weathers. Seasonable sunshine today, a high of 86, but we'll start to transition to some more active conditions. From the west later today, it's in the overnight hours that many of us see some shower and thunderstorm potential. 67 for a low, then 87 Thursday with scattered storms, some of which may involve some heavy downpours. Once rain chances return, we have at least a slight chance each day through the start of next week.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. Quick update. Then we're going to talk about Michigan. I got a lot of New York State updates as well. Do you remember the left-wing Canadian who beat up, attacked that patriotic teen on the New Jersey boardwalk? It was right around July 4th. We brought this story to you. It turned out her boyfriend or husband was very radical. We hadn't had an update, and I just learned late yesterday the left-wing Canadian illegal immigrant who attacked a teen in patriotic clothing on a New Jersey boardwalk is getting the boot back to Canada. A Texas immigration judge ordered Caitlin Tracy to be deported back to her home country before they slapped her with a guilty plea, that's what they slapped her with after she entered a guilty plea on an assault charge stemming from the 4th of July weekend brawl. Tracy, who's 33, attended a criminal court hearing in Toms River over the phone from a Texas ICE lockup, only copped the one count of simple assault, a misdemeanor, as part of a cushy plea deal. Besides exile to Canada, she was sentenced to 1 day behind bars, though she was granted time served since she spent time in jail in Ocean County last month. There you go. There's your update. Well, deported back to Canada. Okay, so Democrats' bitter civil war has hit Michigan. Now, it depends on what outlet you go to. It's still too close to call. The biggest prize, the Senate race primary, still too close to call. The race between progressive candidate Abdul Al-Said, and again, when you say progressive, you mean Democrat Socialists of America, and former Wayne County Health Director and Representative Hallie Stevens. A more moderate contender, again, depends on your definition of moderate, remain too close to call as of early this morning. I'm not sure if I've been trying to keep up with the news, and everybody's calling it nail biting, though some outlets have called it. While the night's biggest prize remained undecided, Democrat establishment candidates scored several victories. So that's, again, showing the infighting in the party. Representative Wesley Bell of Missouri defeated Democrat Socialists of America back challenger and former Representative Cori Bush, a one-time squad member, in a rematch of their 2024 showdown. Meanwhile, President Donald Trump's powerful sway over the Republican Party was reaffirmed as two Trump-backed candidates won gubernatorial nominations in Michigan and Kansas. So as I said, the verdict is still out on arguably the biggest race. But there are, I guess you could say, wins for establishment Democrats. I prefer the term establishment Democrats. The party's ideological warfare was front and center in Missouri's St. Louis-based, heavily Democrat 1st Congressional District. Bell, who was backed by House Democrat leader Hakeem Jeffries of New York and other establishment figures, defeated Bush, the former two-term representative who Bell ousted in 2024's primary. Bell was again boosted by a major infusion of outside money, allowing him to substantially outspend Bush and her allies. Much of the funding and advertising targeting Bush came from the United Democracy Project, the super PAC aligned with AI PAC. Again, Trump flexes his political muscle in the Republican Party. Trump-backed Representative John James of Michigan, a West Point graduate and two-time Republican Senate nominee, defeated multimillionaire businessman Perry Johnson to capture the party's gubernatorial nomination. James will face Benson in the race to succeed term-limited Democrat Governor Gretchen Whitmer. In Kansas, Trump-endorsed State Senate President Ty Masterson prevailed in a crowded field of Republican gubernatorial contenders. Democrat Governor Laura Kelly is term-limited, making the race to succeed her a leading pickup opportunity for Republicans. Now, that's how Fox looked at it. CNN saying that the votes are still being counted in that biggest race. They did their takeaways. Progressives' comeback bid falls short for Missouri, as we mentioned. Michigan Democrats nominated Democrat Socialist in a top targeted race. So you do have a socialist win. That was William Lawrence, who we've talked about a little bit in the past. Democrat Socialist and climate activist William Lawrence won a three-way primary in Michigan's 7th district after two more establishment-oriented candidates former U.S. Ambassador to Ukraine, Bridget Brink, and Navy SEAL veteran Matt Masdam split the rest of the vote. Lawrence now advances in a place some in the Democrat establishment have worried he might cost them in a top targeted race against GOP Representative Tom Barrett. What's interesting about that is another example because of the split of the vote with the more moderate Democrats. The Democrat Socialists of America, and they do have a ground game, I'm not denying that, but they've been very lucky in the situations they've been dealt. For instance, Zohran Mamdani, think about that. It was Zohran Mamdani versus Andrew Cuomo, essentially. I know Sweetwall was there, but what I'm saying is the Republicans were told to vote for Cuomo. So that was a scenario where, if you look back at it, there's a lot. I don't think these are these huge explosive wins that people want you to believe. Now, again, in New York State, where the Democrat Socialists of America won, they won in areas that they will win in the general election because they're Democrat-heavy districts. So there will be victories. I'm not denying that. Now, where else do we have? Republicans keep responding to the success of left-wing ballot measures by asking voters to pass ballot measures that would make ballot measures more difficult. What? The problem, voters keep rejecting these gambits, and Tuesday brought a big rejection, a spectacular one. In fact, voters in Missouri overwhelmingly rejected Amendment 4. This was a GOP-led effort to require ballot measures proposed by voters to get a majority of every congressional district in the state. That would greatly increase the threshold for passing such measures, which currently only require a majority of the statewide vote. Wow, yeah, that's a huge takeaway, I guess. Kansas Governor Laura Kelly's pick lost the race to replace her. That was a big takeaway. And finally, could Democrats, this is CNN, could Democrats have a chance in Kansas Senate contest? Anyway, that's enough on that. We do have, we're going to probably tie this in because I know I heard the Corning whistle as well. But we do have the nail biter. We'll tell you a little bit about what they had to say. Then we're going to move on because we've got to get to New York State issues. And as I said in the 7 o'clock hour, we're going to talk with our friend Griffin Bates. Griffin Bates is a Steuben County historian. He's going to tell us about that upcoming Steuben celebration. Stay with us. We're moving along fast. We'll be right back.
Firefighters responding to a fire alarm on a Wednesday found several safety violations.
I'm on scene right now where the commercial fire happened yesterday. As you can see, the building is in complete ruins.
They're pushing for an additional $250 million to the state budget.
Free local pantry here in her front lawn and painted posts. The Vencino Group says it will cover hotel stays for residents through March 20th.
With the U.S. Department of State releasing a travel caution worldwide.
Get ready for the 185th Chemung County Fair. 5 days of family fun. August 4th through August 8th at the Chemung County Fairgrounds in Horseheads. Experience thrilling rides, exciting games, and captivating livestock shows. Taste delicious fair food and explore local vendors. Rust and Fright Concert August 4th. Tractor Pull August 5th. Rodeo August 6th. Truck Pull August 7th. Demolition Derby August 8th. Join us for the 185th Chemung County Fair, where tradition meets excitement. Visit ChemungCountyFair.com for tickets and details.
Your teeth, wash your hands, eat healthy foods. There are healthy routines we start as children that continue throughout our lives. Staying up to date on vaccines is just one of them. Although vaccine recommendations may change as we age, the need for protection does not. So, keep washing your hands, brushing your teeth, eating healthy, and getting vaccinated, because your health depends on it. Learn more about Vaccines for Life at NFI.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We're back, I should say, but we've got so many comments I'm excited about. We're back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. Let's go to viewer comments. Good morning, Frank. Well, good morning. I used to love when Rush Limbaugh said, talent on loan from God. Yes. In my opinion, at least for the southern tier, you're our talent on loan. Oh, that's too much. Thank you, though. That is very, 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 very kind of you. But no, I would disagree. But I do thank you for being so kind. Very nice of you to say. Coming from a different viewer, good morning, Frank. Horse racing, good morning. Horse racing, just like everything else, is bound to face changes. Very true. Changes in many things is difficult. In the woke world that we're living in, horse racing is one crazy election away from disappearing completely. That's a very good point. I guess I'll have to count the changes as still being a win when I consider what we're up against. That's fair. I mean, that is fair. But boy, getting rid of the Triple Crown, I just think it hurts if you really do want to build up horse racing, I think this is a horrible way to do it, because I think the casual fan who may end up watching Triple Crown may end up saying, wait a minute, I kind of like this. They're starting because it's, their family's watching it, they're watching the Derby, or they see the excitement, they watch it. I don't know if that's going to be there. I think the casual fan, again, I wouldn't even say casual fan, the novice, I don't know what word I'm looking for. The person that would not normally watch a horse race isn't going to be as interested in the championship series as they were with the Triple Crown, I guess is what I'm saying. It was two very good comments. Thank you very much. Now, Hallie Stevens, who looks like she could be defeated, but nothing is official yet. She said, I know it's been an exciting night. I know it's been a long night because that's the Michigan way. We knew that this was going to be a close race, and that's exactly what we got. But friends, I'm feeling good about this race. She noted that the public won't know the results for a little while and declared it was time to get some sleep or go get some coffee. Now, El Sahi took a victory lap early on, and he touted his smaller than expected 3-point lead over Representative Hallie Stevens, saying, I wish I could tell you that I was declaring victory right now. Turns out it takes a long time to count votes in Michigan. Right now, we're on track to outvote the historical numbers that we should expect. We are not a purple state. We are a state in need of a movement to take our politics back. He crowed about how the billionaires, corporations, the special interests splurged tens of millions of dollars trying to take him down. Then he pivoted to attacking Republican Mike Rogers. Quote, there's so much more that unites us. However much we might disagree with our Democrat opponent, there is so much more that unites us than divides us. Now, President Trump weighed in on it, saying, I have not found out who won the election tonight with Abdul, who won, Trump said, getting off of Air Force One. When they said it was a nail-biter and could not be called, he said, oh, that's surprising. Don't forget that Abdul was way down a few weeks ago, and now I guess it looks like it's going to be a little bit of a horse race. Well, they said towards the end he was something like, 20 point, or it was double-digit lead. But I mentioned the other ones. I don't think we have to go. I find this interesting. It kind of reminds me a little bit of when we talk about the frustration when it's school budget time. And, we always complain, and so many people complain about how high of taxes we have in New York and how it's almost impossible to live here. The costs are too high and taxes are nonstop. And then when we actually have a tax that we can vote on to lower it or not say, hey, we don't want a huge increase, we always do the huge increase. And it's very frustrating. I find this shocking. Missouri voters rejected a ballot measure yesterday that would have abolished their state income taxes. While 9 states have phased out individual income taxes, Missouri voters apparently feared an increase in other forms of taxation to make up for the revenue laws. That's a weird fear to have when you're already being it was rejected by 84% to 16%, with about a fifth of the ballots tallied. So a little bit left to go, but boy, I wish they'd put that up to vote here. Abolish state income tax. Okay, and then I think we got everything else about that. We could talk more about it, but that's going to tie in with the Democrat Party in general. I am running late. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
When you're online, don't forget to visit our Facebook page at Big Fox News. Catch up on news from the Twin Tiers and hear about local events. All on Facebook.com/Big Fox News.
Come celebrate the 207th Steuben County Fair from Monday, August 17th through Sunday, August 23rd. Wednesday, August 19th is Broken Bee Rodeo starting at 7 p.m. And there's more. Demolition derbies, monster truck show, games, rides, fun for the whole family. For tickets and information, visit SteubenCountyFair.org. Experience the Steuben County Fair from August 17th through the 23rd.
How we start a conversation matters. Text CONVO to 51550 for weekly conversation starters and connect more with parenting.org from Boys Town.
Hi there, I'm meteorologist Brandon Weathers. Seasonable sunshine today, a high of 86, but we'll start to transition to some more active conditions. From the west later today, it's in the overnight hours that many of us see some shower and thunderstorm potential. 67 for a low, then 87 Thursday with scattered storms, some of which may involve some heavy downpours. Once rain chances return, we have at least a slight chance each day through the start of next week.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam brought to you by Boss Security and Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio, getting ready to wrap up our number one. A couple quick announcements, and then we're going to move along to our number two. Comment from a viewer. Good morning, Frank. Well, good morning. In my opinion, the Preakness is an integral part of the Triple Crown, and to eliminate this race is just one more tradition that I think is unnecessary to get rid of it. And I question whether it actually will work the way they hope it will financially. Obviously, always the angle. Another tradition bites the dust. I think it's part of a bigger plan. Yeah, I'm frustrated. I don't think it's going to work the way they're claiming it's going to work, or at least why they say they're making this change. Now, there's time on this. We'll find out more. Like I said, I got to do a little bit more research, but there was quite an uproar about this yesterday in certain circles, because if you get rid of the Preakness, is everything going to be an asterisk from here on out? You know, everybody always compares horses to Secretariat or the newer kind of maybe American Pharoah, something like that. Is it going to be no longer the excitement of who's going to be on that elite group of Triple Crown winners? I think I'm with you. I don't think it has the reward that they think it's going to get. I don't think I don't think it's going to cause more people to tune in. And like you said, at the end of the day, it's all about money. All right, a couple of quick announcements before we go. Today, the New York State Department of Transportation has a paving project update. This is the paving project along State Route 415 in Painted Post and Riverside. So this is for our friends in Painted Post and Riverside. The project will also include sidewalk and drainage improvements. So if you want to find out more, if you're interested, if you're in that area, or you just really like to learn about paving projects, it's today from 6 to 7 at the Village of Riverside Town Hall. That's 35 Stanton Street in Painted Post. Well, Painted Post mailing address. No need to RSVP. I'm sure you received the letter yourself in the mail if you're in that general area, but I wanted to remind you in case you did not mark your calendar. Again, that's tonight from 6 to 7 at the Village of Riverside Town Hall. Okay. Also, before you go to that meeting, why not stop to our friends at the Moose Club? It's the Corning Moose Club, but it's in Painted Post. They're having their popular Smash Burger Night. That's back tonight, serving from 5 to 7 p.m. Now, the lodge itself opens at 4. You get smash burger, corn on the cob, a dessert. Also available, the regular menus, which is hot dogs, hamburgers, cheeseburgers, sausage with pepper and onions. Now, the smash burgers, again, corn on the cob and baked beans, and little insider info. The dessert is going to be strawberry shortcake. So that's with our friends at the Moose Club in Painted Post today from 5 to 7, and then you can go over to that paving project update. Okay, we've got to take a short break. Don't forget, in the next hour, Griffin Bates will be our guest. Griffin is the Steuben County historian. Keep those comments, keep those waves coming in. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
When you're online, don't forget to visit our Facebook page at Big Fox News. Catch up on news from the Twin Tiers and hear about local events. All on Facebook.com/Big Fox News.
Come celebrate the 207th Steuben County Fair from Monday, August 17th through Sunday, August 23rd. Wednesday, August 19th is Broken Bee Rodeo starting at 7 p.m. And there's more. Demolition derbies, monster truck show, games, rides, fun for the whole family. For tickets and information, visit SteubenCountyFair.org. Experience the Steuben County Fair from August 17th through the 23rd.
start a conversation matters. Text CONVO to 51550 for weekly conversation starters and connect more with parenting.org from Boys Town.
Hi there, I'm meteorologist Brandon Weathers. Seasonable sunshine today, a high of 86, but we'll start to transition to some more active conditions. From the west later today, it's in the overnight hours that many of us see some shower and thunderstorm potential. 67 for a low, then 87 Thursday with scattered storms, some of which may involve some heavy downpours. Once rain chances return, we have at least a slight chance each day through the start of next week.
And we welcome you to hour number 2 of Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Acom. We are broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Marcus Street in Corning. We were talking about a lot of different issues. One is a concern over the future of the Triple Crown in horse racing, but we've also talked about that. El Saeed, it looks like he's probably going to pull out that win in the Democrat primary, which would be a big win for the Democrat Socialists of America. But boy, it was a lot closer than they expected. So it wasn't this huge, overwhelming night of primary races. Where was it? Missouri, Michigan, Kansas. It wasn't a huge win for Democrat Socialists of America, but also not overall losses. But this ties in with something we talked about with Joe Sempolinski. Oh, first of all, I got some viewer comments, and then we're going to talk about the Democrat Party in general as we head into the midterms. Okay. Good morning, Frank. Well, good morning to you. I always love the Preakness, but I'm not surprised that it is left out. Look at how many times the Derby winners skipped it in recent years. Great point. What does this do to the Breeders' Cup? I have not heard of any changes to the Breeders' Cup. So that's a great point. I don't know. Like I said, we're still doing the research. It was kind of a surprise, at least it was to me, surprise announcement yesterday. But to your point, that's been a major frustration. And I know they weren't going to go this direction, but after this year, that was an argument that I made, that if you're going to enter the potential of a Triple Crown race, that there should be some type of contractual obligation that you have to race in all three, or at least race in the Preakness, with, again, the potential that if you win both, that you have to go into the Belmont. Having said that, I know they would never do that, because the argument always is, oh, the horse isn't ready for the Preakness, but I just think it's so bad. Like I think the championship series will ultimately be. I don't think it helps boost horse racing, because if you want to boost horse racing, you have to have some type of guarantee. And I'm not saying if the horse gets hurt or something like that. It's got to be a serious reason, though, that they don't race in the Preakness, because it just hurts the future of the sport. And I think that's what's going to happen here without the excitement of a potential Triple Crown, in this case, any Triple Crown in general. Does it bring horse racing fans in? I just think it has unintended consequences, or maybe intended consequences. Mark writes in, abolish state income tax in New York State, not with Hochul, because she'd rather spend our money building new football stadiums and spend it on illegals. Vote red, vote Bruce Blakeman. Thank you, Mark. I appreciate that. We were talking about the Democrat Party and this infighting. I talked about this yesterday with Joe Sempolinski. Again, if you missed our conversation with the assemblyman and former congressman, that is on our YouTube page. And I had mentioned David Hogg. Now, David Hogg is a gun control activist. And a while ago, him and the head of the DNC, Ken Martin, were kind of butting heads. So he ultimately left the DNC leadership position, meaning David Hogg. He wasn't the leader, but he was higher up there. He left because his theory was that he wanted Democrats to primary Democrats, get rid of the old guard and bring in new people. And that's essentially what is happening. Ken Martin right now is in a lot of hot water amongst Democrats. They are in debt financially. He has not been seen as an effective leader. He was the one that called when David Hogg was still a part of the group, really whining and crying on a conference call that David Hogg was more popular than him. But David Hogg is pushing again to remove this, or not again. This time he is now pushing to remove Democrat National Committee Chairman Ken Martin. So now he didn't do this in the past, but he was pushing for primary challengers amongst Democrats. And Ken Martin said, you can't do that. We want the establishment to win. So David Hogg is calling for the removal of Ken Martin from the position of DNC chairman. He wants to broaden the party's leadership so that younger constituents feel like they are part of something larger than just opposing Trump. NPR quoted Hogg as saying, quote, "We should hold our share of the lead opposition party to Donald Trump to a standard at least as high as we would hold a middle schooler. People want new leadership, and they feel like they're not being properly represented." He expressed concerns that the Democrats are losing ground, but trying to cover it by denying the decline, which he claims is political suicide. Quote, "When you tell people not to believe what they're seeing or what they're feeling with the economy or the president or something like that, and something that is happening in Gaza, you're going to lose them." Gaza, okay, interesting. He continued, "I think that the establishment of the Democrat Party is going out there trying to offer voters basically a different shade of lipstick than they're putting on the pig, and expecting voters to somehow buy that when the reality is they're sick and tired of that. They want fighters." Interesting. So now you see the call for the ouster of Ken Martin, the head of the DNC. A lot of people expected this because Ken Martin has been so ineffective and has got them highly in debt. But this is showing the push towards the Democrat Socialists of America as compared to the establishment Democrats. Someone that you could definitely say is an establishment Democrat is James Carville. Helped run the Clinton campaign, the Bill Clinton campaign, has been involved in Democrat politics forever. He has a podcast out, and recently we brought to you what he had said, essentially saying that if Hassan Piker, who I don't follow him, I doubt you do, but he has a podcast, and he's extremely far left. He's Democrat Socialist of America, but very, very far, even farther, you could argue. As a matter of fact, I think I have a quote later on how he was defending Hamas. But anyway, so James Carville said, if Hassan Piker is the voice of the Democrat Party, then my loyalty, my registration to the Democrat Party is gone. Well, that caused Hassan Piker and Abdul El-Said, who looks like he may win yesterday's primary, that was not official. They mocked Carville's threat. They're not the only ones. We'll get the other one in a moment. The two began by discussing the full-on freakout caused by Piker choosing to campaign for El-Said, leading to people like James Carville attacking their own party. Now James Carville is talking about leaving the party, Piker said. "We got Pennsylvania Senator John Fetterman, James Carville fantasizing about leaving the party. I'm like, you're sweating the deal." That was really interesting. Or you're sweetening the deal, sweating the deal. You're sweetening the deal. So first we could lose Fetterman, essentially saying, and maybe now James Carville. All right. What Carville had said is, "I can't sit here and tell you for certain how this is going to turn out. But the one thing I can tell you for certain, Hassan Piker and James Carville are not going to be in the same political party. One of us is going to leave. It might even be me," Carville said, adding that an overwhelming majority of Democrats agree with him. Well, El-Said said, "That was really interesting. Like our party, if you look at what happened with President Donald Trump, you had a whole bunch of center-right people realizing they had no home in the party that they destroyed. And then they all come to our party and try to tell us what our party ought to be. And then you think about like James Carville. I'm like, bro, you architect the complete right-wing ascent to neoliberalism in 96. Wow. Yes. That was, Clinton was right-wing? Is that what we're learning? This state is a swing state because of the Clinton era of politics. Now, again, Piker is the one that said that America deserved 9/11. And that Hamas was 1,000 times better than Israel. He is fighting, and it looks like you could argue winning, of becoming the face, or at least the voice, of the Democrat Party. But those two were not the only ones criticizing Carville for that. Bernie Sanders said that while he doesn't agree with Hassan Piker that America deserved 9/11, quote, "We need a Big Tent, and I think people like Piker should be welcomed into that, certainly." He also stated that the choice between Democrat strategist James Carville and Piker isn't much of a choice, and you can turn the tables around and say, do you really want to be in a party where your leadership is taking huge amounts of money from AIPAC, which is supporting an extremist Netanyahu government that many of us believe has committed genocide? That's scary. The strain's not strain. It's no longer a strain. A party platform seems to be this anti-Semitism, and AIPAC is kind of a dog whistle that they throw around so often. So he's saying that he would choose Piker over Carville because Carville is somehow involved in AI PAC money, getting money. So when asked about that statement about America deserved 9/11, Sanders said, no, I'm not. I think that's a dumb statement. On the other hand, he has a whole lot of followers. And there are a lot of things that he's saying that are making sense to a lot of people. I think we have to get above cancel culture. Okay, now everybody wants in the Democrat Party wants to get above cancel culture. Also, that idea of just a big tent, I know it's a term that's been used forever. It's a little scary. Ken Martin said it, to refer to him again. He said it when he was asked about these candidates that were spouting anti-Semitism, like Zohran Mamdani and others, saying, yeah, well, we're a big tent. We'll take everybody. So he said, so Bernie Sanders now is against cancel culture. Interesting. When you're doing radio, whatever they do, podcast 3 hours a day, you may say dumb things. I suspect if you go back over your career, there may be 1 or 2 things that you've said that you may have regretted. But I think that we have got to do is to look at the totality of where people are coming from and go forward. So they asked, James Carville or Piker? He said, well, that's not much of a choice. If Mr. Carville doesn't want to be in my party, the party that I belong to, that Piker, that Al-Sahad belong to, he can start his own party. Now that's interesting, a little bit of an ego there, obviously. Bernie Sanders saying my party. Now keep in mind, this is coming from a man who ran as an independent. Now, of course, caucused with the Democrats, but still was an independent. So now it's his party. The ego of the Democratic Socialists of America could be their ultimate downfall. The Bernie Sanders, because as we had referenced in the past, yes, he can definitely take away some wins. He can take a win, an endorsement win last night. But the losses that he's taken have been catastrophic, too. Huge losses. I mean, even look at someone like Graham Plattner. So I think that's more of a telling statement than some may realize, that Carville doesn't want to be in my party, the party that I belong to. Again, this is Bernie Sanders, who ran as an independent. Then maybe he can start his own party. But look, what we are dealing with now is you can turn the tables around and say, do you really want to be in a party where your leadership is taking huge amounts of money from AI PAC, which is supporting an extremist Netanyahu government that many of us believe that it committed genocide? Do you want to be in a party that with people who do that? Do you want to be in a party which has not stood up to the AI industry because they got a lot of money from AI and from crypto? So you could pick whatever you want to pick, but I think we need a big tent. And I think people like Piker should be welcomed into that, certainly, but apparently not the establishment like James Carville. So you can see with his language, with his statements, Bernie Sanders now believes himself to be the de facto leader. And I think there's an argument to be made there of the Democrat Party. To show you a little bit about the socialist wing of the Democrat Party when we return, I've got a couple things, where they stand, some interviews. We are going to get to New York State issues. As I mentioned, Griffin Bates, the Steuben County historian, is going to be our guest a little bit later on. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
More cars, lower prices. Simmons Rockwell. Whether you're in the market for new, used, or certified pre-owned, Simmons Rockwell locations across the Twin Tiers have more of what you're looking for with our best price right on the windshield. Make car buying simple when you drive your deal at a Simmons Rockwell location near you, where you'll always find more cars at lower prices.
Give kids time. Just 5 minutes a day. Ask them how they're feeling. And listen. Kids time. Ask them how they're feeling. And listen.
You deserve primary care that connects. Care that helps you move forward. To a provider who knows you, to the care you need, to the life you love. That's the power of a strong connection. Meet your new primary care provider at centralishealth.org/schedule and be seen within a week.
Hi there, I'm meteorologist Brandon Weathers. Seasonable sunshine today, a high of 86. but we'll start to transition to some more active conditions from the west later today. It's in the overnight hours that many of us see some shower and thunderstorm potential. 67 for a low, then 87 Thursday with scattered storms, some of which may involve some heavy downpours. Once rain chances return, we have at least a slight chance each day through the start of
the Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. We had a lot of viewer comments come in. Sorry, I ran to fill up my water now. And I will get to your comments in the next section. I do appreciate the person who sent in. Is this a new book, the Alan Dershowitz book? Why Quit the Democrats and So Should You, Confessions of a Reluctant Republican. I interviewed Alan Dershowitz back in the day. Really interesting man. So is that a new book? I'll have to do some research. Okay. We're talking about the Democrat Socialists of America. And Joe Sempolinski had referenced this yesterday, and I realized after the fact that maybe you didn't have a lot of details about this. But a socialist Democrat running for Wisconsin governor, Democrat Socialists of America running for Wisconsin governor, became visibly uncomfortable and served up a word salad when asked whether she still stands by what she said in the past, which was to cancel Thanksgiving because it was celebrating colonialism. Francesca Hong, who is the front runner to become the Democrat nominee in Wisconsin, said that the beloved holiday needs to be scrapped and that America should have done this in 1621. If it takes a worldwide pandemic, because she said this during COVID, for us to realize that we should stop celebrating colonialism and the original super spreader event that killed indigenous folks and women, so be it. So surprisingly, CNN's Caitlin Collins asked Hong point blank whether she really believes that, and that's when it got weird. I'm going to quote for just a moment because it'll be fun. But Caitlin Collins, I'm surprised she asked about this. So she asked Hong, do you really believe that Thanksgiving should be canceled? In her 46-second response, Hong did not deny it. She said, I'm a chef, and one of the first meals that I made that was for the community when I was 16 was a Thanksgiving meal. I always think my hospitality background and owning a restaurant for 7 to 8 years, that bringing folks around the table to share conversation and build community is always a good thing. But Thanksgiving is also time that's incredibly painful for many people in our communities. So I think I wanted to make sure people understood there are multiple views, but views can evolve. And the position I'm running for right now, and I think my background as a chef will actually help me become a better governor that's able to bring more people to the table. Now, this is why I've always said that it's a Democrat could never stand to be a Republican for a day when it comes to media coverage, because that would obviously not have been a sufficient answer for Caitlin Collins if that was a Republican. But in this instance, Caitlin Collins thanked her and concluded the interview. So she just wanted to pretend she did her due diligence, right? Caitlin Collins wanted to say, well, I asked a tough question, but did not do the follow-up. It's an old trick that's been done a million times by the mainstream media so that they can say, look how fair I am. I asked the tough questions of Hong, but didn't do the follow-up. Again, if that was a Republican, they would never say it, but said cancel Thanksgiving, do you think she would have been fine with that response? Hong has a big issue with American holidays. She's got an issue with at least 7 American holidays in past social media posts. She's done rants against Valentine's Day, Mother's Day, Father's Day, and the 4th of July, Halloween, and Christmas. She wrote in 2022, I miss working in a restaurant every day except on Valentine's Day. As if we weren't invisible enough to those who don't recognize the emotional and physical labor of service work, the worst of humanity comes out from folks celebrating on another day capitalism tells you how to show love. Oof. On Mother's Day, she said, today can be a beautiful day of celebrating for some and a difficult or melancholy day for others. Whatever Mother's Day means to you, please be gentle with yourself and kind to others. Then Father's Day. To all those who celebrate Father's Day, we share your joy. For those who feel pain, ambivalence, or grief in this day, we see you. No matter what your family looks like or who your family is, we hope today is still filled with light and love for tomorrow. Next up, July 4th. Why not? Let's just go through the holidays. Next up, July 4th, to which she opined, 1852, on the 76th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence, Frederick Douglass gave a speech at the official event commemorating the signing, asking the question, what to the slaves is the 4th of July? While we are not enslaved, it is worth it for those of us seeing our liberties, freedom, and human rights systematically stripped away to ask what is the 4th of July to us. She actually wrote that midway through Biden's administration. Interesting. She could not mask her displeasure with Halloween, writing in 2019, I don't allow myself to work Halloween weekend for the day of, or the day of. I would actually ask every single person in costume to leave. And then, of course, we have Thanksgiving. And then when it came to Christmas, she wrote, IT bro who was working on our computer remotely changed the background theme to snow and Christmas trees. I feel slightly attacked. Whew. This goes back to that the cool kids now in their mind are the ones that are most aggrieved, are the most offended, and that's what she had to outdo her fellow kind of woke far left people by saying, "Oh yeah, you actually like Thanksgiving? Wow." So that's what Joe was referencing, and I had to mention it to you. Those are kind of the policy positions, the radical policy positions of this Democrat Socialists of America group that is obviously rising up. And one thing I keep reiterating, and I think is worth noting when it comes to Democrat Socialists of America, they are infighting with each other, and that's a prime example. Not because there's any fight there from her fellow Democrat Socialists of America, but what she needed to do is show that she cared and she was more aggrieved and she was more outraged by these holidays than you, the fellow Democrat Socialists of America. That's who she's speaking to. She has to outdo you and show that she's the real leader. It's like Bernie Sanders. You're more offended, you're more aggrieved, and that makes you the cooler person in the Democrat Socialists of America. Speaking of, and I mentioned him earlier and I got these out of order, Hassan Piker, the far left podcast or streamer, he said, Piker said, well, I wouldn't say I express support for all of Hamas's actions or anything. I do say that the Palestinian resistance largely does have an internationally recognized right to resist. Do they violate that sometimes with war crimes? Absolutely. And Hamas certainly has as well. But at the end of the day, Palestinians do have a right to resist militarily. The House resolution highlighted Piker's past comments calling Hamas 1,000 times better than the fascist settler colonial apartheid state of Israel. So this was where is it? He was asked to explain his position on Hamas's anti-women, anti-LGBTQ stances, excuse me. I'm a lesser evil voter, and therefore I would vote for Hamas over Israel every single time because I'm looking at the situation as a paramilitary organization that has a political party as well, a political bureau, as well as entirely compromised, not as an alien force, but of an orphaned children that have, had their parents killed by an apartheid state. Enough on this. So he dismissed Hamas's anti-women, anti-LGBTQ stances. That's what we're dealing with. All right, we got to take a break because coming up, our good friend Griffin Bates will be joining us. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Firefighters responding to a fire alarm on a Wednesday found several safety violations.
I'm on scene right now where the commercial fire happened yesterday. As you can see, the building is in complete ruins.
They're pushing for an additional $250 million to the state budget.
Free local pantry here in her front lawn and painted posts. The Vencino Group says it will cover hotel stays for residents through March 20th.
With the U.S. Department of State releasing a travel caution worldwide.
We asked a few cycle friends, why do you ride?
You can just shout out to the world and nobody can hear you.
I love going out for miles and miles, hours and hours by myself.
It's a thrill that you are constantly chasing.
It's a way to get free.
I love the twisty roads.
It's not about the destination, it's about the ride, right?
Folks that ride should know. At William Attar, we understand you. And if you're ever injured on a motorcycle, we're ready to help. Call 444-4444.
The Library of Congress and
invites you to visit the revamped Veterans History Project website, where first-hand accounts shared by U.S. military veterans are accessible to the public. Performing a search of the collection is easy. First, go to loc.gov/vets. Click Explore the Collections. Scroll down to Search the VHP Collections and click. Make sure you're searching this collection, and with simple keywords, you can find what you're looking for. Visit loc.gov/vets today.
The governor declared a state of emergency, and evacuation is now underway as the storm approaches. The National Weather Service has issued a warning as it monitors the storm. Those in the following counties, therefore, should seek.
Convoy of Hope is ready to help you prepare for the next storm. Visit convoy.org/prepare.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. Welcome back to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Acom. We're broadcasting from the Hesselson studio, and in that studio this morning, returning, Griffin, how are you, buddy?
Good, how are you?
Good. How's everything going at the Steuben County Historical Society?
Very good.
Yeah. Well, you've got a big event planned, and I know there's a lot of work. Tell us about Steuben 250.
So yeah, Steuben 250 is a sponsored program from the New York 250 Commemorative Commission. They help provide the funds to be able to pull off this big event. When you go to Steuben 250, you will see a bunch of tents up. That's one of the big things you'll notice on Pulteney Square. It's going to be pretty much a collaboration of different history fair and concert items. We have a couple of different lineups from, we have we have a music group for Sing Democracy 250. It's a special little national event that's being performed by the cantata singers out of Elmira.
Okay.
So there's going to be some interesting things there. There's going to be a couple other musical elements. There's going to be, we have a barbershop chorus.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty cool.
Yeah. And I mean, there's also, and I think this is something that's sometimes overlooked, something celebrating kind of the history, the Steuben 250. You got living history and military reenactments.
Yeah, yeah. We have confirmed the 24th Connecticut Militia.
Oh, cool.
Which is right out of Pennsylvania. It's from the Wyoming Valley area. And I did a little research on that group, and I didn't realize it until after we brought them up for Steuben 250, is that unit actually participated in the Sullivan Clinton campaign, which came through the Finger Lakes area. So they actually are more connected to this area than we realized.
Yeah, and there's so many other things, like 19th century ice cream prepared by Churn of the Century. I love that.
Yeah.
Churn of the Century ice cream. What a great name. Okay, you're going to have notable historic figures. Who are you looking forward to meeting the most?
Well, I'm looking forward to meeting Ben Franklin.
Of course.
Of course, I have to admit that Thomas Jefferson will be my father.
Okay.
So
you've already met him.
I've already met Thomas Jefferson plenty of times.
Yeah, but these are just some of the things, and we've talked about on the program. There's been so many, and you know, the small towns like Thurston just had their 250 celebration. Hornby just celebrated 200 years. Yeah. It's just so nice to see the community come together for these celebrations and kind of take in our history. You must love it.
I do. Yeah. I can't tell you how many people have been coming to my office to ask about the history of this area, and as I think it's ultimately because of this 250th, people are really curious about what their hometown history is.
And there's so much history in Steuben County.
I
don't need to tell you.
No.
But on top of this, and we're just kind of glancing over, because it's going to be all day, 9 a.m. till 5 p.m. at Pulteney Square, Saturday, September 5th. I showed your, I love your poster.
Thank you.
It gets your attention, that's for sure. But on top of this, there's also going to be local food and vendors. We should definitely mention that.
Yeah, it's going to be, we have Chris B's Chicken Barbecue will be there, so if you're looking to have a nice, like, classic style of
picnic almost.
We'll have that, but there's also going to be some other food items. There's going to be Ray's Mobile Food. There's going to be Twin Kiss with their ice cream. So there'll be 2 types of ice cream available. If you want the historical stuff, I've tasted it. It is wonderful.
Yeah.
But if you just want a nice ice cream, we also will have that available as well.
Is that how you got Turn of the Century? You said I got to get some free samples, see if I like it or not. Is that how it works? I think that's such a clever name. How is the planning overall going? Because let's face it, the summer's going fast. September 5th is going to be here in no time.
Yeah. Luckily, I've been working with the Historical Society. They've been very helpful with planning a lot of this, and luckily we seem to hit the sweet spot with September 5th. At least there's some reenacting groups that actually have a bit of a lull, and they're very, very, very busy, especially the Revolutionary War units. Sure. We were very lucky to have a couple Revolutionary War units sign up.
That's great, because you think about that, and I've been joking about, to a lot of the guests, that I wish I owned stock in fireworks, right? Because this year it's been nothing but fireworks. But you think about the competition for all of these things, and September 5th, I like it because it's a little bit after we've been to July 4th, the America 250, we've been to some of the local towns. It's kind of a nice way to cap off the summer, maybe.
Yeah. And it was also done just because, it's right before the school season starts, and like you said, as the capping, it's usually the last hurrah of the summer feel before we go back to normal fall and winter and spring feels. Sure. So I'm glad that we're at least doing it, and that we are able to do something kind of pretty big on September 5th.
Absolutely. Now, you had mentioned New York 250th Commemorative Commission as a sponsor. Have you been, because of that, have you had to still go out and get other sponsors, or is that?
No, actually, luckily the sponsorship has been able to cover the main parts of this. And the Historical Society has been very generous with offering any other support they can, financial or otherwise.
Oh, that's great. Now, is this something that you'll need volunteers or help for, or just come enjoy the day?
We've got it down where everyone is going to be doing their own thing. We might have a few volunteers, but I think we could probably pull that from the Historical Society pool.
That's great. So just basically, like I'm saying, just come down and just enjoy it. Who would you say it's for?
It's for the public, purely and simply. It's for Steuben County, and it's for people from outside the county as well to be able to see a little bit of what Steuben County can offer for history celebration.
Again, it's September 5th from 9 a.m. till 5 p.m. at Pulteney Square. Now, how's everything going at the historian's office?
Very well. Besides all the planning, I've been managing to fit in other things. There's the Hall of Fame coming up, which is the 50th anniversary, so I have to do a little extra for that. Wow. That will probably be in the fall, mid-fall, when you'll hear some more stuff for that. But this year we're going to try to nominate 10. Wow. We usually only do 4, but because it's such an important year this year, we want to do a little extra.
Wow. So when can people start handing in the applications for that?
Well, the application period has already been...
Oh, it's already closed.
Already closed. But usually the application period is from the beginning of the year up until March 31st.
Gotcha. Okay. Oh, yeah, I guess I do remember that. The summer went quick. And then it has to get approved by the legislature, and then it's on. So did it seem like there's any trouble finding the 10?
Well, it's mainly the committee trying to get all of them to find the 10 that they all agree on.
That's should be tough.
It's going to be a little tough, but I'm prepared for it.
And people can visit the Hall of Fame, right? It's right in the county building?
Yeah, it's right up second floor. If you turn and do a backwards right turn, you'll be able to see the Hall of Fame.
Oh, perfect. And everybody knows my sweet spot for Dwayne Eddy.
Yeah.
So also, you've got the planning for, again, we're talking Steuben 250 on September 5th, 9 a.m. till 5 p.m. But you also got the Steuben County Fair coming up.
Oh, yes, we do.
You always participate in that. What do you got going this year?
Pretty much the same thing that we always do, which is we open up the schoolhouse, which is through the Historical Society, and then the fair opens up the Pioneer Log Cabin in the Pioneer Museum.
Yeah.
It's going to be just like the normal thing. We'll have a lot of games, and we'll be able to let you see what it's like to be in the 1800s. And
well, it's like a staple.
Yeah, it is.
It's such an important part of the fair, and that's what makes, I think, the Steuben County Fair so special, because going back to obviously the thread this morning, which is history, it's such a historic fair.
It is. It truly is.
Yeah. So anything else in the works after this, or are you just going to take a break after Steuben 250?
On the horizon, next year will be the 200th anniversary of emancipation in New York State.
Okay.
On July 4th, actually, 1827, New York State officially abolished by law slavery.
Right.
And so people don't realize that New York State actually had a pretty significant slave history. And New York State was actually, New York Harbor was one of the largest, if not the largest, port of entry for the slave trade.
Yeah. I don't think most people would know that.
No, so this next year we're going to really try to focus on that important history.
Sure. And one thing I've got to say while I have you here,
Yeah.
I know you're a part of it, I love Echoes.
Oh, great. Thank you.
I look forward to that coming in, and I know people that have subscribed once I've told them about it, and it's something you look forward to. It's every quarter, right? Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
And the best part, and I'll plug this in a little, is it's just $25 a year, and you get that subscription. And we're even kind of considering turning it into like calling it a magazine, because
it really is.
We don't just have news blotter; it's actual historical publications.
Mm-hmm. And I think all the articles in their various ranges. Like we're talking recently, like the geography. What would you call it? Like the
geography and geology of the Finger Lakes, or Steuben County specifically.
And you have that, but then you have the historic pictures. Again, and for that price, you can't beat it. How does someone sign up for that?
Yeah, all you have to do is you have to go to our the Historical Society website at chsny.org.
Okay.
And you can go to the membership tab. You can pay for it right online, and you can get your subscription. You can choose physical or email as well.
And did I read it right? Did they finally find the first issue? Because I know they were searching for it.
Yeah. It was actually through my archive. I was in the secondary archive. That whole story of how I found that archive is interesting in itself, but I realized that archive was actually filled with weird treasures.
Okay.
And I just found this binder that said Echoes. I was like, oh, I'm going to see what I have here. And then I remember, oh yeah, we're looking for the first one. And then I open the binder, and there it is. It's a tiny, little, small, unassuming little
really?
one page folded over
funny.
Echoes.
I just thought there was some beautiful irony in the fact that the Historic Society didn't have their first.
I know. That was going to be a pretty bad irony.
Yes.
I'm glad we fixed it out.
Yes, absolutely. And like you said, it really should be a magazine. You learn a lot, and again, I can't tell everybody that does the hard work for that, because I know something like that is not easy to put together.
No.
So kudos to all of you.
Yes, especially to Nedra. She's the editor, and she deserves a lot of praise.
No, I can't agree more. I love it. So again, we're talking about a lot of stuff here, but the Steuben 250 coming up September 5th, 9 a.m. till 5 p.m. Where can people find out more, or if they have any questions?
Just go to the Facebook. If you type in Steuben 250 in Facebook, you should find the event page, and also there is a little community page that I created, so if people want to share their thoughts or anything, they can either do it on the event page or the community page. Both will be labeled Steuben 250.
Great. Well, thanks so much for coming on the show. Best of luck with it.
Thank you.
All right. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking after this. Stay with us.
What better way to start or end every day than relaxing in your very own Hesselson's hot tub? Massage therapy, relaxation, stress reliever, pain management, soothing muscles, or just spending time with a loved one. Hot water therapy really does make every day better. Hesselson's has been a part of this great community for over 70 years, still being locally owned and operated. So make the drive to Hesselson's and start making your path to a better life today. And after 70 years, it's still fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
After my wife died, it was like I lost myself too. I didn't feel like doing anything or seeing anyone. Then my granddaughter called to say she misses me, and I realized I had to make a change. I got referred to a psychiatrist, and she explained depression can happen to anyone. I'm learning that getting help for my depression doesn't make me weak, it makes me stronger. I just wish it made me better at fishing.
Millions of people deal with obesity and face unfair weight bias every day.
Don't you care what other people think?
You need to do something about your weight.
Weight bias is harmful, not helpful. Our words and actions matter. Learn more about weight bias and how to help end it. Visit stopweightbias.com.
Be part of the solution. Let's work together to stop weight bias today.
Hi there, I'm meteorologist Brandon Weathers. Seasonable sunshine today, a high of 86, but we'll start to transition to some more active conditions. From the west later today, it's in the overnight hours that many of us see some shower and thunderstorm potential. 67 for a low, then 87 Thursday with scattered storms, some of which may involve some heavy downpours. Once rain chances return, we have at least a slight chance each day through the start of next week.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning. Thank you to Griffin Bates for being our guest this morning. It's going to be a fun celebration. StuBen250. Let's go to some viewer comments. Good morning from Cuca Lake. Hold on. Here we go. Good morning from Cuca Lake. I love your show. Look at that beautiful view on Cuca Lake. What a perfect day. Have fun out there, and thank you for the very nice comments. I always love when people send in pictures. All right. Comment from a different viewer. Good morning, Frank. Have an enjoyable day. Listen to all this. This is wonderful. I hope you have an enjoyable day as well. Comment from a different viewer. As a lover of horse racing, we were talking about the changes being made potentially to the Triple Crown. As a lover of horse racing, I've been involved with 8 partnerships over the years. Very nice. Of those 8, only 2 escaped injuries that sidelined them for a time. I know that the Preakness is one of those traditions that is difficult to see changing, but I'm firmly in the camp that 2 weeks rest after the Kentucky Derby isn't enough. There would be nothing worse for the sport than to see a breakdown in a highly televised race. Only 2 weeks rest to me is a ticking time bomb. I believe that a smart trainer would use the Preakness as a workout between races rather than an all-out race. I'm happy that I got to witness the Triple Crown years as they were, especially Secretariat, the one that shaped my love for the sport. We'll see what happens with all of the new changes. America loves a weekend party. The party is going from 3 weeks to 6. Beats watching golf. Well, hey, now. Hey, we don't have to put down golf to build up horse racing. No, I appreciate your point. Very thought out point, and I do appreciate that. And I'm glad that we've had such a great conversation on that this morning, because I do see it from both sides. I just hope it doesn't, and that's a very fair point, that America loves party weekends. I just hope it doesn't have a negative effect when it comes to, like we were saying earlier, like to your point, you watch Triple Crown and got you in love with the sport. Will this get people involved in the same way, or is this an excuse to kind of drop out of watching horse races? I don't know, but I think very, very good point, and I do appreciate your comments. Comment from a different viewer. Good morning, Franco. Good morning. I have to believe that the radical push towards socialism in the Democrat Party will be its demise. I've got a kind of a piece on that in a moment. Mark writes in similar. I hope people realize a vote for DSA is a vote to get rid of America as we know it. No more say no more holidays, no more rights. Personally, I thought I'd never see this day, but only people can change this. Thank you very much. Ken writes in, do you think even one of the sheeple that are voting for candidates in what can be considered a new political party, the Democrat Socialists of America, consider even for a second the hypocrisy of these candidates? They're spending millions of dollars to get elected to do a job that they want to abolish. They want to institute a healthcare system that will shift costs from the individual resident to the government, which is funded by individual residents, and will result in a worse healthcare system that makes Canadians want to come here for quicker and better healthcare. Good point. They want to make us safer by opening the borders and eliminating ICE and eliminate prisons, but they will have government security protecting them. This is only a partial list. How do the sheeple not see what they are voting for? To Ken and Mark's point, and to other points that are continuing being made, Rich Lowry, do I have time for that? Yeah, Rich Lowry said, sometimes a red scare isn't such a bad thing. Over the last several weeks, President Trump has been issuing 5-alarm fire warnings, claiming that the Democrat Socialists of America are really just communists, and his opponents have blasted him, saying that it's the worst sort of McCarthyism. Trump's rhetoric has been blunderbuss and over the top, but the DSA does have a communist problem. The DSA is subversion, is attempting to infiltrate and take over the Democrat Party with some success. Well, I think with a lot of success. While Marxists are infiltrating and taking over the DSA, also with some success. In other words, the most important movement within the Democrat Party is in the process of falling under the control of communists. Over the last few years, they've established a majority on the DSA's National Political Committee, its governing board, meaning Marxist. As recent reports in The Atlantic warned about the direction of the DSA, they have noted this is not in keeping with the original vision of the organization. The late Michael Harrington was the biggest founding figure of the DSA, and he was a genuinely Democrat socialist. The need for the adjective democratic before socialist stems from the fact that so many varieties of socialism are undemocratic. A 20th century intellectual and organizer, Harrington came to prominence with his 1962 book on poverty in the United States, The Other America. Harrington's policy prescription may have been misbegotten, but he wasn't a hater with totalitarian tendencies or an opponent of Western civilization obsessed with destroying Israel. In fact, he was pro-Zionism. Harrington and similar battle-hardened socialists of his generation had plenty of experience watching social organizations get penetrated and destroyed by Marxist-Leninists. So they wrote a provision into the DSA bylaws allowing for the expulsion of anyone under the discipline of any self-defined democratic centrist organization. Now that measure has been repealed. Pro-Harrington members of the DSA formed a group called the North Star Caucus to preserve his vision. The hard leftists countered with the Red Star Caucus. Members of the Red Star wrote a dispatch a couple of years ago lamenting how the DSA was once upon a time an anti-communist, labor-Zionist, social democratic organization, and calling on all communists in the United States to join us in the democratic struggle within the DSA. Sure, they admitted the DSA isn't perfect, but as communists contest for and win within the organization, we continue to move toward a revolutionary horizon. It wasn't bluster. The orientation of the DSA has changed in recent years. As far as an animating spirit, it's goodbye Michael Harrington and hello Hassan Piker, the left-wing influencer who thinks fondly of Chairman Mao and of anti-Israel terror groups. True to its new posture, the DSA refused to condemn Hamas after October 7th, and the New York City chapter promoted a pro-Hamas rally immediately after the attack. In response, about 24 longtime members of the DSA, some of them former leaders, quit the group. Quote, "It is time to find other organizational vehicles to advance an emancipatory, humane, democratic socialism." Good luck. All this should matter. Like it or not, the DSA is not a fringe group with exotic concerns anymore, but a mainstream force nominating Democrat candidates across the country. As such, its internal politics deserve intense scrutiny. Needless to say, if Republican candidates were pledging loyalty to a group increasingly subject to the control of self-professed fascists, it would be an enormous story, and they'd have to disavow their association. That there isn't such pressure on DSA candidates from the legacy media is testament to how any warning about domestic communism is discounted as groundless alarmism, and how communism, a supposedly idealistic force, doesn't carry the same power as fascism. The Democrat Party isn't about becoming a vehicle for communism, but the DSA, the cradle of so many new attention-getting Democrat candidates, is well on its way. I thought that was tying in with that. I appreciate that. All right, we got to take a short break. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking after this.
I had to pack up all my things. I had to leave my home. And I never knew where I was going next. It felt like I never even had a say. But then you came along.
Change a child's story. There's a child in foster care waiting for a volunteer like you. Learn how you can help at nationalcasagal.org.
1 in 4 people have a disability. I'm one of them. I'm also a working actor, passionate about advancing disability inclusion. Employers, take note. People with disabilities are the largest minority group in the world. We've got a trusted ally by our side. Easter Seals is expanding meaningful employment opportunities for people with disabilities, seniors, and veterans through workforce programs that also provide employers and communities with support to truly make the workforce inclusive. That's my Easter Seals. Make it yours.
Listen up. It's the 4th quarter. You're almost there. Your boys just turned 18, but they need one more push. Don't let them forget to register with the Selective Service System. It's required by law, and if they don't register, they'll miss out on many important federal benefits. Parents, teachers, coaches, say it with me. SSS.gov. SSS.gov. Let's get them registered today.
The Frankly Speaking roof cam. Look at our beautiful, picturesque view of historic Market Street, brought to you by Boss Security and Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hasselson studio. Let's go to some viewer comments. Rick writes in this morning. Good morning, Frank. Good morning. Hey, I'm not so sure the Strait of Hormuz opened up 100% today. I'm bummed. Donald promised and he never goes against his word. I'm just beside myself. In fact, I just caught this nugget. Iran is working on the Strait of Hormuz with Oman and not the United States for a plan to open the Strait of Hormuz. Doesn't look good for Don. It'll be open today. Yeah, Donald, whatever you say. Another note, Israel's still mowing down the Palestinians. Now, what was it that they did to infuriate Israel? I thought Hamas were the bad guys in Gaza. Interesting. But Rick is taking a very similar take to Hazan Piker. Lynn writes in, good morning, Frank. Well, good morning, Lynn. Frank, I don't know how you feel about the growth of the DSA. Or I don't know how, me, okay. Frank, I don't know how you feel about the growth of the DSA. In my opinion, it all ties to the immigration system, both legal and illegal. The United States has imported people who do not share our political beliefs. The allowance of foreign students in colleges did leave their beliefs behind and infect the domestic students with these beliefs. And the illegal immigrants added to census data dramatically increases the political impact of democratic states, which unbalanced the people's vote. Most of the immigrants now don't assimilate to our beliefs. Thank you. Well, no, thank you, Lynn. I do appreciate that. What am I doing here? Did you hear about, this isn't, well, let's get to the New York issues. I meant to bring this up yesterday because we've talked about the rise of anti-Semitism, whether it's in the DSA or the Democrat Party in general. And we see the rhetoric coming from like Zohran Mamdani, and we see the rhetoric from, again, the Democrat Party in general. Did you see the hate crimes soared under Mamdani? More than half of the hate crimes committed were against Jews. The startling 9.4% uptick in hate crimes citywide comes even as all 7 major crime categories saw sharp declines across all 5 boroughs, including historic lows for murders and shooting. More than half the hate crimes, 56.9%, were anti-Semitic, despite Jewish people making up just 10% of New York City's population, according to the police department. Many Jewish leaders were quick to blame Mamdani, an outspoken critic of Israel, who's accused the nation of committing a genocide during the war in Gaza and called for the arrest of, we know, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Dov Hinken, founders of Americans Against Anti-Semitism, said people take their cue from the mayor. He's creating fear in the Jewish community. Startling numbers there. And this hatred for Israel has gotten so bad that, did you see Ireland? Their Air Force One, you would call it their Air Force One, lacks a key safety system for fog. Why? Because Ireland has banned purchasing anything from Israel. The Irish government's new $61 million Air Force One is coming without a navigational system for landing in bad weather because it's boycotting Israeli parts. Not making this up. Wow. All right. Also, yesterday, I know this is a little old if you've been following it, a federal judge blocked key proportions of a New York law that would have prohibited federal immigration agents from wearing masks and requiring them to display visible identification while carrying out their duties. U.S. District Judge May D'Agostino of the Northern District of New York issued a preliminary injunction preventing the state from enforcing the 2 provisions, while a legal challenge to the law continues to move forward. In her ruling, D'Agostino found the challenge provisions were likely unconstitutional because they interfere with federal law enforcement operations, including those carried out by ICE, the FBI, the Drug Enforcement Administration, and U.S. Customs and Border Protection. In the ruling, it said New York cannot impose its own uniform requirements on federal agents simply because it disagrees with how the federal government is exercising its authority. Also, as an update before we take a break, a district court on Thursday, that can't be right. Last Thursday? I guess we were just hearing about it. A district court last week blocked New York from enforcing its assisted suicide law against 4 orders of Catholic nuns and several Catholic healthcare ministries as the religious liberty lawsuit continues. The temporary agreement, which New York agreed to, will shield the Catholic nuns and ministries from being forced to take any part in assisted suicide when the law legalizing the practice goes into effect today. It actually goes into effect today. Attorneys with Beckett Fund for Religious Liberty announced. So there we go. Couple of quick updates. We got to take a break. Get your last second comments in because we are done after this. Stay with us.
You don't have time to go to the gym? The health club is not an option? Come to Hesselson today and see why swim spas and fitness systems can fit into anyone's yard and budget. 12-foot, 14-foot, 15-foot, 18-foot dual temperature hot tub and swim spas are all on display in Hesselson's indoor and outdoor showroom. Try before you buy. 0% interest-free financing options are available on every Hesselson swim spot. Swim and exercise year-round and start making every day better. After 70 years, it's still fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
Looking for a meaningful day trip close to home? Visit the historic Elmira Prison Camp, one of the most significant Civil War sites in the North. Walk the grounds, stand where history happened, discover powerful stories of courage, sacrifice, and survival that shaped our nation. Whether you're a history enthusiast, a family looking to learn together, or simply exploring the Finger Lakes region, we offer an experience you won't forget. Plan your visit today at elmiracivilwar.org. Preserve, discover, remember.
Hi there, I'm meteorologist Brandon Weathers. Seasonable sunshine today, a high of 86, but we'll start to transition to some more active conditions. From the west later today, it's in the overnight hours that many of us see some shower and thunderstorm potential. 67 for a low, then 87 Thursday with scattered storms, some of which may involve some heavy downpours. Once rain chances return, we have at least a slight chance each day through the start of next week.
Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security and Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. A couple comments from viewers. Hey, Rick, October 7th, 2023. Does that ring a bell? Thank you very much. Comment from a different viewer. I believe that the DSA is being a bit overstated. Interesting. If they all get crushed in November, then the revolution is over and their candidates will be gone. Then the Democrats will have to go back to having a real message and platform. I understand. You've heard my theory on this, that I think their primary wins. And their primary wins in most instances, deep blue states like here in New York. I do think you're seeing that rise, so I think it's a troubling trend for the Democratic Party. If there is overwhelming losses because of that, then yeah, it's probably the end or close to the end. Problem is, and this is why Melissa Del Rosa and others have called him a parasite. They couldn't win as Democrat Socialists of America on their own, so they took over the Democrat Party. Why that's interesting is they found the perfect niche market where they found races that they could challenge, incumbents that they could win in deep blue areas, and then they're hoping that there is so much anger at Trump in this country. Remember, they're in their own bubble, their own echo chamber. That there's so much anger at Trump in this country that it's going to be a huge blue wave so that people vote for them. Even though they're Democrat Socialists of America, people vote for them just for their hatred of Trump. It's kind of like their theory on Kamala Harris that you're going to, yes, she may not be the best candidate, but vote for her because she's not Trump. So they're hoping for that big, huge midterm upset, which would kind of solidify their power again, even if that power is not earned, if it just happened to find kind of that perfect ground game of winning. So I appreciate your point, but I don't think it's something we can take lightly. Not that you said that. I don't think it's something you can take lightly is all I'm suggesting. Again, not that viewer said that. All right, that does it for today's edition of Frankly Speaking. That's hard to believe. We had wonderful conversations. I can't thank you enough. I'm so pleased to see so many horse racing fans in this crowd. That's really nice. Some great views on that. Thank you to Griffin Bates for being our guest. He is the Steuben County historian, and we've got that Steuben 250 coming up, that celebration. So thank you to Griffin Bates for being our guest. Tomorrow we are going to have a guest. We have guests every day this week. We're waiting for some finalization on them, which I know I like to promote a little bit more ahead than that, but that's where you're at. So just tune in every weekday morning, starting at 6 a.m. for Frankly Speaking, only on WYDC TV Big Fox. We will see you tomorrow morning, bright and early. I look forward to it already.
One big day of smooth jazz awaits you at the Ferrario Elmira Jazz Festival. Join us at Thorne Street Park Saturday, August 15th for chart-topping jazz keyboardist Brian Simpson and soprano saxophonist Marion Meadows with local favorite Top Shelf. Celebrate with us. Tickets only $42. It's one big day. Buy tickets at ElmiraJazzFestival.com. Brian, Marion, and Top Shelf. One big day.
It's more than music!